Okay. Hi, Sybe.
Yeah, there I am. Yeah.
Very nice to see you here and to have this conversation with you. So can you tell me about some examples of water management in other countries that Ukraine can actually use and from which we can learn something?
Yeah. Like scientists, the most interesting way of learning that is from mistakes or things that go wrong, because that saves you from making the same mistake, you know. I can give you an example where it is going fantastically wrong. And that is the system they have in California. And that is a system of water rights. That means that some people have a right to get water from the lakes in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, or from the, of course, from the rivers that bring the water down from the mountains all the way to Los Angeles and San Diego.
Like normal people or companies?
It is companies as well as mostly farmers, but also cities. And water rights means that you have a right to get such and so much water for some fixed price. Even when the price is not completely fixed, then you still have the right to get that water. And it was developed, well, a long time ago, when people settled over there and they wanted to start agriculture or mining or whatever possible. And of course, they needed in the towns that developed consumption water. And then they developed a system of rights. And I tell this because maybe 15 years ago, the NGOs worldwide were telling everybody everywhere that this is an appropriate way of dealing with water. You have to give people a right to get water. I was on the World Water Forum in Mexico. There were huge protests by these NGOs, you know, as we did not want that to come to that system. They were opposing us. They wanted to have a system of water rights everywhere. Now you don't hear them anymore because step by step it is discovered how disastrous that system works out in California. Water rights, you know, the farmers have it, and you should know the huge valley in California. I think almost 50% of the value of products in the United States of agricultural products is coming from there. So those farmers need water, and they get it. And now, in the meantime, the big lakes, especially the biggest one that's high in the mountains, is slowly drying up. There is no fresh snow or whatever rainfall water, you know, coming in. And the rivers, they are transporting the water to the south through the valley. And there, you know, they suck all the water that is coming in. And step by step, they will have a big problem. In the same time, people start to use groundwater, or they almost they did it for so many years, you know, to get an extra supply. And what you see now in California, that is an extremely drought, and not only drought by the weather, so by climate or whatever, that also has influence, but also drought, you know, again from the underground. And it is almost impossible to control the use of water because there is a system of rights to use it. And you, as a single farmer, you know, well, of course, you say, yeah, something has to be done, you know, but I am not the first to step in because I rely on my rights. And what you see now that is that water is used, for instance, for golf courses or for lawns around the houses, you know, to keep it green, or for the production of crops where you really can ask the question why, like alfalfa and so on, or they plant nut trees. And many types of nut trees use extremely a lot of water, and so it's not used in a sophisticated way or in a way, you know, to save water. There is no how to say it, no drive, you know, to save water because you have it, and so that system can go on. until the rivers are dry. And it is not only California is the worst, but when you go to the Colorado catchment, there you can see exactly the same developments, and farmers that have to stop because water is out. Yeah, because by using it for irrigation, of course, they soaked all the water out, and yeah, then it's gone. And so in times when the supply of water, is going down by all causes, it could be climate, then they should save water, and there is no drive to do it. And so here you see an example of wrong decisions built on a culture that is so extremely strong. And yeah, that is the characteristic of cultures. It is hard to change culture. And when a system of legality is built upon that culture, it is even worse to change it. And that is one of the huge problems you see now at the west, the mid and west side of the United States. It's extremely difficult to change it because, well, you know how America is like. It is a country of freedom, and that is especially also individual freedom, freedom of enterprise, freedom of God knows what more, guns, freedom of everything, and how to step in, that culture and that type of legality to change it. And of course they will do it, but it probably will be done when it's too late. This is the influence of culture, and behind that probably also religion. It has to do, with Protestant religion and the Catholic Church is how to say that the Catholicism is has more to do with society as a whole and with communities. Protestantism is much more the individual, and so then you get that combination of religious background, which is going very deeply into humans' mind and culture, a way of habits and customs and legality around that. And there you are, how to change that.
So their problem was that they actually had no system for this water, so it's just finished. Am I right?
Yeah, but you settle somewhere, and then you want to be sure, that you can settle there forever, and therefore they invented that system of rights. Those days may be okay, but that system is so inflexible, and that is wrong. And I did some work in California. I tried to give some advice also for flood management. But it's very, very hard to break through that American culture. Very hard. I have better examples where we were more successful. When you want to hear about that,
I would like to hear that there's some hope.
But you shouldn't be too pessimistic. But first, you must understand the reality, the facts, and then you can, hopefully, find a way out. But never go also for Ukraine where there is a shortage of water and you have to solve the problems. Never go to a system of water rights. That is absolutely the wrong way around. When that is settled, that system, you can't break through it anymore. So I don't know whether there are still NGOs that make propaganda for that, but it is absolutely wrong. So be aware of that. A better example, that is from Indonesia, Jakarta, but especially the city of Semarang. I think Semarang about 4 or 5 million inhabitants. It is at the seaside, the north of the island of Java. As everywhere in the delta areas, the soil there is subsiding by groundwater extraction, which is a little bit strange because Indonesia has a lot of rainwater, 2,000 millimeters annually or so. So there is water enough, but they can't gather it and distribute it. And so everybody is using groundwater. And it is a lava type of clay soil, and that is subsiding very quickly. In Jakarta, the north of Jakarta, maybe 15 or 20 centimeters annually. So these cities are sinking below sea level. I came with some colleagues in Semarang, and then we noticed the problem over there. No, of course, when you are a Dutchman, and it's what you immediately ask you the question, what could we do? And well, the World Bank assisted us a little bit, and some Dutch funding assisted. And we said, hey, we are going to do something here, preventing floods, because the central part of Semarang is flooded every day at high tide. And it is about 400,000 or 500,000 people that have wet feet, and sometimes even worse than wet feet. Well, it's horrible to see. And you know, when there is a super high tide or there is heavy stormwater coming down from the mountains, then there is a flood all over the town. What could we do? Well, all towns there have a drain system, an open drain system, so small canals, wide canals, everywhere through the town. All the surplus water could be, how to say it, pumped away easily. Why not? All drain systems are completely full of garbage, because people throw all the garbage out, as there is no institution, you know, that is responsible for bringing all the garbage together and get it out of town. So complete drain system is full of garbage. So you need the drain system to do something. We want to develop a polder system in the city. Well, I don't go to details, but we said, don't wait for the government in Jakarta. It's too far away and they have no money, and this problem can't be solved by a central government. So the city has to do it. But not only the city government, but the population itself should be set to work to do something. And so we made, with the support of the Indonesian government and the city government, we made a program. Let's control the floods, you know, do something. And so we went to the people, to the informal chiefs that are everywhere in town, and said, you must mobilize the people, do something. Then we want to control the floods, so you don't have all those disasters day after day and every half a year. And then what we noticed, we couldn't get the people into move. They listened to us, and of course they said yes and interesting and blah blah, and then nothing happened. And then me and a colleague, we said, what's wrong? Well, don't be smart enough to find out yourself, you know. So we went to a university and we said, could you assist us to find out what's in the people's minds, you know, that they listen but don't do. And then we made focus groups all through the city. And a sociologist was leading it, and two anthropologists, listen to that, two anthropologists were also supporting. And then we found out something very interesting. People, they normally in Indonesia are very religious, not dogmatic religious, but in mind very religious. People accepted floods as an act of God.
Oh.
And when we made the program, Control the Floods, or the floodings, in their mind, it was translated into Control God. But that's, of course, impossible. How to resist God? And therefore, it didn't work. But what we discovered also, that was that they were very upset against themselves, that when there was high water, that all that water came in the drains, the garbage in the drains, you know, came into the streets. They have many small children, little children. The children were playing, you know, on the street in the garbage. And of course, the risk of diseases, etc., etc. And listen to that, the garbage, that was an act of man. So it's better not to control God, but to control man. And then we made the program over there, Save Your Children. Be responsible for your children. The health of your children. Clean the drains. And that was a good message for them. And then they organized, and the informal chiefs, you know, they were active, and they had to pay something, and when they had no money, they could do it in work. And then after a few years, you know, we started a program to clean the complete drain system. And then, you know, it's possible to make pumping houses and to build some dikes, etc., etc. They call the complete infrastructure, because the complete spider web was controlled, and not by the government, but by the peoples themselves. But then, you know, the Dutch answer would be control the flood. We always did. And the Indonesian answer is not control God, but control human beings. That is much better. And that worked. And that is the point, you know, when you make programs, know a little bit about religion, know a little bit, because that is human mind, you know, even when people forget religion, then it still works as a type of culture. So know about culture a little bit. And then you can find the holes, the places where people can be moved a little bit and move a little bit more, etc., until, you know, it's new custom. And that is my message everywhere. It is better not to send engineers, you know, the technologists, the heroes of infrastructure, firstly, but first send a few anthropologists so that you know what type of people you have to do with. And then you can find out how they can adapt, you know, to technique.
It's really impressive example.
Therefore, also, you know, in the communist world, I
wanted to ask about actually us. What do you think about what is in the mind of Ukrainians?
Yeah, well, you know, I wrote my dissertation on Marxism. That was in communist time. I had a lot of contact in Romania and Czechoslovakia with dissidents, so I knew a lot about Marxism and communism, etc., etc. I had direct interference with the system, you know, in the 80s. So 89, 90, 91, when communism disappeared, I could tell in the Netherlands, I know about communism, you know, ask me. And then I jumped into those countries again and started some business in the Czech Republic and also in agriculture in Ukraine. And then after 5 years working with the former communist people, then on a conference in the Netherlands, I said, now after communism disappeared, and I came there and I worked with the former communists. Now slowly I start to understand a little bit about communism. Because now I have to deal, you know, with modified people, modified by communism. And that is also culture, a way of behavior, a way of how to understand the world, you know, as these people did. And you cannot, to change culture is to change people, but that doesn't work. And also then you have to find your way through these characters, through this history. So you should understand people with whom you have to work, the culture in which they are educated, etc., and then find your way. You cannot jump, you know, beyond that. That doesn't work, because then people don't accept it, or they even don't understand it. And I don't want to express with this that the former communist people are no good. No, they are different. As everywhere in the world, you know, even within countries, people are completely different, and you have to accept that and work with that. and also respect it a little bit, even when it's a hindrance. But you have to respect it because it's there. And the real changes are going slowly. No problem.
Have you heard about Water Users Association, the new law in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Actually, we have lots of discussions around that, and someone doesn't believe that it will work, that people will organize themselves or something. What do you think about this?
Yeah. I read the draft, the concept law. It did not make me very enthusiastic, because all the idea of water users associations, but I have I forgot a little bit about the details, but when you now you ask for it, it is completely how to say, concentrated on governance. How to organize the Water Users Association in an absolutely democratic way. And that means, that every person should have a vote, and then they have a right to elect, a right to control, a right to this, a right to that, and you have a board and all procedures, how to deal with a board, and et cetera, et cetera, and that's it. It does not speak about in a strategic or legal way, about finance, about the use of money, and about how to come to make people pay for something. But all these major issues are not, how to say that, brought into that association's law. What is democracy? Is that one man, one vote? Well, okay, that is a definition of democracy, of course. When you look back to how the Dutch water associations were founded, it was not one man, one vote. It were, how to say that, representatives of, for instance, farmers, representatives of municipalities, sometimes even representatives of churches, who founded those associations in a very simple way, 1,000 years ago. And later on, it was a little bit settled into law. But I don't believe that it never spoke about one man, one vote. But what is the most important thing of democracy? That is there a little bit a sophisticated system to elect or to appoint people at the right place? And that also can be done indirectly through organizations or so on. And secondly, can you control them? And thirdly, when there is a real problem, is there some arbitrage? Is there a judge somewhere, or like when you play soccer, there is an arbiter around, and well, the teams accept the arbiter. When not, it's war. And so it's just, how to get people in a board, how to control the board, and well, how to judge them, or whoever, when there is a real problem. And next to that, of course, that is where the money is coming from. Of course, is it taxation? Is it funding by something? Is it state government money from taxation? God knows what. Next point is, who has authority for what? Is that the board who has authority? Or should the board listen day after day after day, what the one man, one vote background is telling them? Direct democracy. Well, that doesn't work, of course. So there should be some authority, of course, controlled authority. But authority means then when you make a decision, it is accepted. And when it's not accepted, doesn't matter, we go on. Like, when the government makes a law and you say, I don't like the law, you are right. Found the political party or whatever, go into the elections, and then you can change the law. But all the time that the law is not changed, this is the law, and you have to accept it. And when not, we will arrest you, or what more. So you need authority. Of course, controlled authority. Authority that can be, well, when they don't function, kicked out, then a new authority is coming in. And this law on water users associations is too much founded on one man, one vote, and then all the problems coming after that. It's not. It's better, to organize all the stakeholders in this field a little bit, and let these organizations step in and find their way. Then you have leveled a little bit that idea of democracy. But Again, I will say, democracy is one thing, but authority is not power. Yeah? Authority is accepted power. Authority is accepted that they have to say something and that you have to oblige. So I would rather go through that law, that draft law again, and from this perspective.
Okay, thank you. It's very useful.
Probably.
The information will come to the people who really can help with that.
Yeah.
And for making this law.
Yeah, but authority, after communism was not a system of authority, but it was a system of power.
Mm-hmm.
And so somewhere, there was power, the Communist Party elite or the state elite or whatever. And when they made their decrees, well, some the people did not resist anyway, and there was not a possibility, to change it, to bring in a good system of control. And of course, there were no independent judges, so a referee was completely absent. And to develop this system, it's easy, to develop democracy, one man, one vote. It is so simple. It's used everywhere. When you elect the president, it's one man, one vote. And then there is no difference, between big man and small man. Everybody the same vote. When you go to the Water Users Act, as you have known, then immediately you get the problem. Hey, there are big users of water and small ones, huge farms and small ones. One man, one vote. Yeah, that is of course complicated because the big users, they have more interest in the system than the small ones. So how could we correct the system a little bit on that? And there the complication is beginning, And so I think one man, one vote, well, maybe somewhere, but it's not a good overall entrance to make the associations democratic. I would develop some intermediate in it, and then on well, the stakeholder level, the types of stakeholders. And
to make like them to solve
the best thing is that whoever is elected or appointed in the board, that there is a good system of control on decisions, so that it is not the people that are in the board that mind their own business and serve their own interests in the board. And that in politics, it's always a problem. Also in the one man, one vote systems, that you are there and then your business comes first and the interest of the country comes next, And,
yep.
And that is also a threat in the water users associations. And so there must be a good system of control, publicity, and good referees. Somewhere there must be a referee. It can be a judge, but there are other systems of playing a referee. You can appoint them also. It could be appointed somewhere around the board, and not using the judges, or the judges only a last resort or so. But that is detailed.
Or something.
Sorry.
Maybe it should be some ministry, I don't know, of agriculture or ecology that will control this.
Or wise old men or so that already learned everything and have not a direct interest in things that you say, hey, you are wise and old enough not to start your own business immediately out of it, please. Play the role of referee for us. It's what the ancient Greek did, in Athens, when they developed democracy. Then democracy almost turned out in civil war. Yeah, it's of course when there is no autocracy anymore, or oligarchs or whatever. Then democracy can mean, a clash of interests. And then they said, hey, we need a leader of the city, but that leader should not come out of one of the circles within the city, because then the leader has his own interest in the city.
Mm-hmm.
He appoints somebody from outside, like Solon or Pericles. And he said, they have no interest in the city, so they are independent. So it's better for them to lead, to be the, let's say, the president, the chairman of the city. Mm-hmm. And then beneath him, we can play the democratic roles. And that, I mean, this wise elder man, you know, that they have independent status, and as they are not part of their interests, you know, they are accepted as being independent.
Yeah, I think that even by people, the person who will have no interest in some local business or something like that will be accepted better than, of course.
Yeah. But it you know, the chairman, okay, let him come out of the stakeholders, but there's some referee. It is very important, you know, that he could control the whole bunch, you know, like a judge is doing in an independent way.
Okay, I think we have just 4 minutes left. Maybe you wanted to say something else before we have finished our time?
Yeah. No, well, on the whole issue of irrigation, and that is the first question. No, there are two questions that you have to solve first. What is in the hands of the state authority? And I would say that is the main infrastructure, because it has to do with everybody. And the main infrastructure is connected to the rivers, to the Dnieper and to the Dniester, and they are in the state hands. So what is in the hand of the central state, and what is in the hand, you know, of the local authorities or the region? And well, that is of course the finer system, the pipelines and so on. And how you know, therefore I started with the water users' rights, how to control the use of water in a sophisticated way, that not the persons, you know, that have the possibility to absorb a lot, they take everything in a water they can get, you know, and on end of pipe nothing is left, you know, that should be fixed in a way, and that should be also in the rule of law. And for me, it's more important to solve those problems first, then come with an act that tells everything about the problems of the governance, but not solves the technical problems and the real use of water.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, of course, this is not the answer. What I tell now is not the answer of everything. It's only headlines. So how to detail it, you know, and write it down so that it can work, you know, that is a bigger step. And well, then you also need the professionalists, you know, that know the system a little bit better than I am doing here from the West.
But you know, it's really good, really. Okay, thank you. I will finish our conversation right now.
Yeah, okay.
I should find where our meeting is.
Yep.